Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've spoken to you several times already about why I'm running for New Jersey Assembly and why I am committed to these daily video addresses. However, because I'm asking you for some pretty big things, such as your vote and your time and your trust and your attention, it's very important that I make it as clear as possible why I'm asking you for these things. I've got to tell you, I was inspired tonight to clarify and expand on why because of a video that I happened to watch on the internet earlier today. It was a video where a guy talked about why he believed that certain people were successful whereas certain other people were unsuccessful. And he said that it all came down to the fact that successful leaders and innovators always were very clear about why they did what they did, why they were selling what they were selling, why they were insisting on what they were insisting on. And it's ironic because I've actually heard the idea before. Glenn Beck had talked about it on his show maybe a year ago already. And you know, I thought a lot about it. For some reason, I abandoned the concentration on making it as clear as possible why I do the things that I do. And the further irony is, I believe in rationality, which means I believe in reason, which means I believe, in a reason for everything, which means I do actually think in terms of why. And yet, I think that I have not done a good enough job making it as clear as possible and as succinct a way as possible to communicate to you precisely why I do what I do, why I ask of you what I ask of you. So today, that's what I'm going to do. There are two reasons why I am committed to winning this election for General Assembly, and in fact, furthermore, why I seek a future as a politician, and also why I am committed to these daily video addresses. Two major reasons. Now here's the first reason. I deeply care about fair, protective policies because they affect our quality of life. Now briefly, what do I mean by fair and protective policies? Well, I think fair is pretty clear, but for those of you who dispute or are wondering what definition I use when I say fair, in a legal context, I believe in equality under the law, and that's what fair means to me. When I say protective, I mean, that which, prevents harm on the individual, and that which preserves individual liberty. Those to me are the two cornerstones of protection. So I believe in fair, protective policies. Now, unfortunately, I believe that today, in the state of New Jersey and throughout the nation, our policies are both unfair and not protective. Now, I'm not going to go on a long rant about every policy and why each of these policies aren't fair, but I'm just going to pick, I think, the one that's affecting New Jersey presently the most, which is the property tax, the astronomically high property tax rate. High property taxes aren't fair because we're paying for things that we don't need, and we're paying for things that don't work. For example, look at our education, our public education here in New Jersey. We have a set of terrible standards that we are paying for. It's called the Common Core State Standards Initiative. We're throwing money, in fact, at public education and these poor standards. Standards that essentially punish critical and outside of the box thinking. And here's how they do it. This is what Common Core's goal is. The goal is to grade essays using computers, which is a terrible idea because that means that in the event that students are able to outthink computers or write in a way that the computer was never programmed to imagine, those students are going to be penalized, which isn't fair, and it certainly doesn't protect the future of our economy whatsoever. And another point here is how detached, ladies and gentlemen, how detached. Imagine computers are concentrating. That really doesn't make any sense. I apologize that I use that word. Computers are grading students' essays. Then what the hell are the teachers doing? The teachers need to be interacting with what the students are writing, not regurgitating the computer's diagnosis or assessment of what the students wrote. That doesn't make any sense. How detached, how disconnected, and how cheap, and yet for something that costs so much money. So much money, in fact, that no cost analysis yet in the state of New Jersey exists for Common Core, which is, again, the name for the educational program here in New Jersey and 45 of the other states in the nation. This is just one example of a policy that I believe is unfair and that does not protect us and our interests. Here's the second reason why I do what I do, ladies and gentlemen, and that is this. I want more prosperity. I want to live in a more prosperous country. It would make me happy. Unfortunately, I'll get very personal with you. My day-to-day experience working at McCaffrey's, it's the grocery store I work at, I look in the eyes of people who, they're very uplifting people and optimistic people, but they're tired and they're frustrated. They're not paid very well. A lot of them can't even get full-time employment because of Obamacare, something I'm going to talk about a little bit more in just a second. Or I can't estimate to you exactly how many seconds it's going to take me to get to that point. The point is, I will get to it. But I work with people who wish they had more money. And I don't only work with people who wish they had more money, I relate to and talk to people at the grocery store every day who wish things weren't so damn expensive. In other words, the economy today has a lot of people very frustrated, to a point where a lot of people are scared about just paying for their most basic needs, their rent, their food. This saddens me profoundly, and I would like to live in a country where we can reduce as much poverty as possible. Now look, I'm a realist, ladies and gentlemen. We're never going to do away with poverty. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. What we can do is constantly take steps that reduce poverty. And there are certain things that can be done politically, whereas there are certain things that are left to the culture. I am most interested specifically in the relationship between policies and whether or not those policies promote prosperity or discourage prosperity. And again, then there's the issue of, the relationship between culture and prosperity, or the lack thereof. Getting back to policies and how they promote prosperity. How do policies promote prosperity? Well, in general, freedom promotes prosperity. And laws or policies that specifically are fair and protective. Just because I'm really emphatic about the wordings that I use, I want to reiterate those words. They promote prosperity. Now let's use a case study, if we shall, and look here in New Jersey and ask ourselves, is New Jersey becoming more prosperous, or is New Jersey becoming less prosperous? And what are the policies specifically the economic policies in New Jersey? And how does it relate to the increase or decrease of prosperity? Well, let's talk about the lack of prosperity in New Jersey. New Jersey has hit a 52-year high in terms of its poverty rate. 52-year high. Our state is home of the poorest city in the entire country, ladies and gentlemen. We have, I'm sorry, one thought led to another. With those two factors in mind, the fact that we have an all-time record high of poverty, and the fact that we're the home of the poorest city in the country, let's also note some of our policies. Well, we have the highest property tax. We have the highest property taxes, that's plural. I apologize. We have the highest property taxes in the entire country. We have the highest debt per capita in the entire country. And note also that more people have left the state of New Jersey than any other state in the entire country. Let's put two and two together and see clearly the constant increase of taxes and spending is not causing the state of New Jersey to grow more prosperous. In fact, very clearly, the constant increase in property taxes, the constant increase in debt, and the constant increase in spending is definitely and absolutely resulting in more poverty. In fact, record-breaking poverty, ladies and gentlemen. Record-breaking.